Bird on Breeze Nation, question on the table today. Why is Ryan Pace picking these potential guys over the proven commodity? Let's talk about it, starting now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. So, Bears go out yesterday, signed Chris Finke. Or Finke? I don't know how you pronounce it. That tells you what I'm talking about, right? And it seems like the Bears have gone out, instead of going and getting the guy that we know is the proven commodity, they keep going out and getting the if guy, right? You know, if he's able to do this, if he's able to play this way, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Right? So why do we keep going out and getting those guys at this point in the offseason? Because there are some guys out there that could bring value to this Bears team, right? I think of Emmanuel Sanders. Yes, he is a little bit older. Was he 35, 36 at this point? But last season had about 650 yards, could probably give you 700 to 750 yards, had 4 touchdowns. He was the 4th option on that team. He wouldn't be a bad option. Will Fuller, we know. Guys that at a minimum, right, can play football in the NFL, and we've seen them do it on this level before instead of the guys that are the question marks. Why does Ryan Poles go out and get a Byron Pringle? Why does Ryan Poles go out and get a Lucas Patrick at the backup center position, right? Why does he go out and get a Chris Finke in this situation? And it tells me what Ryan Poles feels about this Bears team. I feel like, right, this is the front office essentially telling you, we don't feel like we're going to be very good heading into this season. So instead of going out and getting guys who, yeah, they can bring us production this year. Yes, they will be able to catch the football. Yes, they will be able to go out and consistently show you better. They're not going to be a part of this thing when this thing is moving in the right direction. So why go out and get those guys when I can find a diamond in the rough potentially? That's where the potential comes in, because if you feel like you're going to be able to win this season, yeah, you go out and add an Emmanuel Sanders and you hope he's your 3rd option. But you're coming into this season essentially how the Chicago Bulls came into last season, with a ton of question marks on the table. We don't know how any of these guys actually are going to perform on the field. Plus, we want to see how they perform with their new head coach, with their new offensive coordinator in Luke Getsy, right? We want to see how this entire thing works together to get us to that point and what pieces we need to add to get us to that next level. That's where year 2 is going to come in. But you have to figure out what you have on this team first, right? We don't think Darnell Mooney can be a number 1. Why? Because we haven't seen him be a number 1. But we don't look at Darnell Mooney and say, hey, Darnell, be a number 1, even though your quarterbacks are Andy Dalton, who has no protection and is running for his life, Nick Foles for a game, and Justin Fields trying to figure it out as he goes, and who seem to be able to get you the ball a little bit in space, right? We look at Darnell and say, you need to be a number 1. You should be the best wide receiver on the team. Not the fact that the guy that was throwing him the ball more times than not couldn't get him the ball, more so because of the offensive line. And I think that's why you've seen Ryan Poles prioritize offensive line, kind of go with the bigger names there, because you go out, you got a Lucas Patrick, you've already got Tevin Jenkins, you already got Larry Borum, you go out and draft a couple of guys that you feel can be backups, and maybe even Braxton Jones slots in as a starter, right? But to me, when you're talking about how this team is going to start moving in the right direction, those young guys got to hit. Listen, if you go into the next season and you feel like, and you pay a receiver this season, but all of a sudden you realize Tevin Jenkins isn't very good at football, guess what? You got to cut bait with Tevin Jenkins, and now you got to go out and find your left tackle of the future. I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think the bigger concern is injury issues for Tevin Jenkins. But when you look at it, right, you have to know this about these pieces before you go out and you spend money. And right now, with trying to fill out the roster for the Bears, they have a ton of pieces that they got to put on this team and holes to fill. And the fact that they actually just don't have players of that caliber yet on this team. Like, they don't even have enough players to go to OTAs yet, right? So they've got to fill out this roster. So they're essentially taking the shotgun approach. Now, before I continue with the video, I want to know how you guys feel, man. One, do you like that Ryan Poles is going potential over proven commodity? And 2, why do you think the Chicago Bears are going potential over proven commodity? I'll be down there talking with you in the comments as well. You know we love to hear from you guys, the fans, on this channel. And the other thing that you have to think about, right, with where this team is going, and especially this season, I don't think any of us feel like they're going to the Super Bowl. I don't think any of us feel like they're going to make a deep playoff run. And if they do, shout out to it. Guess what that means? Byron Pringle probably can play. Chris Fink might be your slot guy. Darnell Mooney's probably your number one. Bayless Jones is a pretty good draft pick. You fixed your defense, and you got Braxton Jones on the offensive line doing a great job helping out early. It probably means you hit on a lot of stuff for you to get that level of success in year one of this thing. But as we don't expect that to happen, like I said, you're taking the shotgun approach with this thing. You're trying to get a bunch of guys in here who are 2s and 3s, 4s even on other teams, and see if they can be the number 2 for you for the long term. The one thing about a lot of these guys that they've brought in, that Ryan Poles has brought in, they're young. If you got these young guys in the building, guess what? And they pan out. Now you have to find out, or now you have the ability to sign them and have them long term so that Justin Fields can build that rapport with them. I understand that you're looking at this and you're saying this will end up being a lost season for Justin Fields because you didn't get him the weapons. That's not true. Will it equate to great numbers? Maybe not. That might be factual, right? It might not equate to a 3,500, 4,000 yard season. But if I watch the tape and I see Justin Fields dropping back consistently, reading the defense, evading pressure, putting the ball on someone's hands, and they should come down with it and they drop it, I'm not going to look at Justin Fields and say, hey, why didn't you get him that pass? You're having a bad game. No, I'm going to look at my wide receivers and say, he's got the worst wide receivers in the NFL and they can't play. Those are two different things. That's what all goes into evaluating your quarterback, because you know what you can fix? Getting wide receivers in here next season when you're going to have a ton of money, a full slate of draft picks, and you can get Justin Fields that help that he needs. I don't go into that. Now, if it's the same things like we saw similar to this year, right? Kind of overthrowing some guys, holding the ball too long, throwing it just slightly enough that guys have to stop their route to come underneath it. That's a completely different situation. That's a completely different conversation that I'm willing to have. And if we're going to break down the tape, let's break down the tape and see where Justin's flaws are. And I think there's going to be a little bit of both in this situation. But when I look at how I'm evaluating Justin Fields, it's more so based off of, is Justin making the right read on the defense? There were times where we looked at Mitch Trubisky in this lineup and we were like, no, Mitch made the right read. Listen, that was covered up. He went to his second read. He put the ball on his hands. The guy dropped it. We had moments like that. There were games like that where we literally said Mitch Trubisky's wide receivers are giving him zero help in this situation. That is still a thing that could be possible, but that's how you evaluate your quarterback. If Justin comes in and consistently he seems to be putting it on guys' hands, doing what he can to get the ball into their hands and moving it down the field, that's a completely different situation. So I value the offensive line like Ryan Poles does. I feel like that's the more important situation. I feel like I've said this a million times. Ryan Pace's cardinal sin to Mitch Trubisky is never getting him protection. Ryan Poles doesn't seem like he's going to have that same issue. Even though Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borom are here, he's still going all out. Hey, get more guys, get more bodies, because you never know if these guys are going to hold up. You don't know where these guys are going to be. So I like that he prioritized the line in the draft. I like that he's prioritized the line in free agency. And now, yeah, you're bringing in some lower tier guys. You're hoping to find some potential. You're hoping to find some diamond in the rough guys, right? And maybe you do, maybe you don't. But guess what? Now I know going into next season, Justin Fields at a minimum looks like he can throw the ball and he can put the ball on guys' hands. Now I know that our running backs room is good. Now I know our offensive line is set for Justin Fields to be successful. Those are all questions we have. Now, hey, look, am I going to the draft next season looking for a number 1 or a number 2? Right? Like, does Darnell Mooney emerge as a number 1 option on this offense? Or am I going into the draft next season looking for a number 2? That's a very different situation. And so there's going to be a ton of evaluation this season. There's going to be a ton of tape breakdown from Ryan Poles. And I think you're going to see, I think you're essentially going to see what you expected to play out this season. The Bears just aren't going to be a great football team. Might they stumble their way into the same amount or even more wins than last season? Yeah, but that doesn't mean when you look at it, right, that they're going to be a great football team. It just kind of means that we're also playing really bad football teams on the other side for the most part, minus your top tier teams. I think we got the Bills and 49ers, stuff like that. But hey, listen, I want to know how you guys feel, man. How do you feel about Ryan Poles going potential at a lot of the wide receiver positions over the proven commodity? I'll be down honor talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Ayo, Chicago! Y'all stay safe out there, my boy. Peace.